You're listening to the Around the Huddle podcast, powered by PAC-Hub. Around the Huddle, college sports beyond the game.
Hello and welcome in to today's episode of the Around the Huddle podcast, powered by PAC-Hub. Thrilled to have all of you with us for what is going to be another extremely insightful episode, talking about the world of college basketball and where that world has kind of changed in recent years. One of the great stories in Division II basketball this season, a guy who has coaching experience all across the country at multiple different levels. Great guest on tap today. But before we get to that, a reminder that we are powered by PAC-Hub. Take a look bottom of your screen, pac-hub.com. PAC-Hub basically fills in the blanks with the NCAA portal. The portal's open now for certain sports, right? Guys are leaving, guys are going. If you are a student athlete and you enter the transfer portal and you want to find a way to stand out to coaches, to get connected to coaches, that's where PAC-Hub can help. By entering the PAC-Hub portal, you are basically populating a page that has not only your name, not only your information, but your statistics, your academic information, all sorts of measurables, all sorts of specifications that allow coaches to go in and say, hey, we're missing that guy. We're missing that one piece. Let's find that guy. You can look for a right-handed pitcher. You can look for a left-handed pitcher. Different sports are involved as well, of course. And yeah, from the coach's perspective, similar thing. If you're missing that one piece, this is how you can find it. You can search, narrow things down, different specifications, and find your missing piece. So check it out, pac-hub.com. Not only is there the PAC-Hub portal, but there are NIL resources, a whole lot of other information about how to navigate this ever-changing landscape of college athletics. Besides that, a reminder to please subscribe, like, and comment to our page. Like our videos, comment on our videos. The more interaction that we have, the more visibility we get. Also, by commenting, let us know if there are certain stories that you want us to talk about, certain questions that you may have about the ever-changing landscape of college athletics. Hit us up, let us know, and we will do our best to cover that. Okay, on to today's guest. Now, we've had a whole host of different guests on, coaches, athletic directors, attorneys, you name it, we've probably had them on. This is a guy who I think has a very unique career path because he's been at a lot of different schools at different levels and has a lot of different insight from those experiences. His name is Brandon Wright. He's currently the assistant coach at Assumption University, a Division II college that recently had one of its best seasons in men's basketball history for Assumption. Before coaching at Assumption, he was at a powerhouse high school program in La Lumiere, one of the great prep programs in all of high school basketball based out of Indiana. He also is at Davis and Elkins, a Division II college in West Virginia. Before that, had some D1 experience, first as a manager at Syracuse, and then as a graduate assistant at Washington. So he has power conference experience, D2 experience, prep school experience. Without further ado, let's bring in our guest today, Brandon Wright. Brandon, good to see you. Thanks for hopping on today.
Thanks for having me, John.
All right, let's start with your season with Assumption, a historic season. You came into the program as an assistant, and seems like things have really changed. I know you focused on the defensive side of the ball, and your defensive points per possession went from 148th nationally to 35th nationally. So very impressive. But let's start with your season. You get to the Elite Eight, which for those who aren't familiar with D2 basketball is like the equivalent of the Final Four for D1. Everyone's playing at one site, one final weekend. What was this experience like for you and the team this season?
Yeah, it was surprising, but at the same time, not surprising. I think we knew early on in the year, going back to our fall workouts, that we had potential to be pretty good. We had a lot of new faces, obviously. We had brought in a couple transfers. We were going to play a ton of freshmen, which historically in the NE10 conference didn't bode well for a lot of teams playing that young. And that was kind of reflected in what people thought of us. We were picked to finish 10th in the preseason poll in the NE10, which, as you know, polls don't really mean much in the beginning of the year, but it was more bulletin board material for our guys. And then we lost our first two games of the year, one in double overtime and then one by 3, both at home start the year. So then you're kind of scratching your head thinking maybe we aren't going to be as good as we thought we were going to be. But we had played well against Bloomfield to start the year. We didn't make free throws down the stretch. And then against Caldwell, we got down big in the first half and then made a big comeback to take a lead late. We just couldn't close the deal on that one. But then we won 11 in a row to get to 11-2, and our mindset kind of flipped. One of our better players, Navon Stewart, got hurt in the first game of the year. And we kind of flipped our philosophy and going from a team that we thought we were going to go about 7 or 8 deep into let's go 10 deep and let's go 5 in and 5 out and see how that goes, since we had the depth. And it worked out, obviously, for us the rest of the year. From a defensive standpoint, you mentioned our points per possession increase from the previous year. We were one of the more athletic teams in the league. We realized early on in the year that, we could be really aggressive in certain things in the half court. We started most games blitzing and trapping all ball screens, and we were really good at forcing gap turnovers, live ball turnovers, and our whole defense philosophy was like, just make the next run, fly around, be aggressive, force their non-playmakers to make plays, whether it's their big short rolling and making plays at a 12, 13 feet where they're not comfortable, or them making the next pass to a non-shooter who now has to either shoot it with the guy running at him or making a play and driving it where he's not that comfortable. And we thrived off that. And now our best offense was just off of live ball turnovers and getting out in transition, where we led the conference in transition offense. That was the recipe, our depth followed by our athleticism and turning easy defensive steals and the basically layups on the other end, which was great for us. Our defense was really good. Our offense was really good, but our guys bought in. Our guys played really hard. And our, message the entire year was just, we are good enough to be in every game. We're good enough to win every game. And you also know that we're going 10 deep, which means that if the first group doesn't have it, the next group is going in and they're going to have your back. If the second group goes in and they're not playing well, then the first group's going to go back in and have your back. And we're just never going to give up. We're always going to fight back. We were down double digit in the second half and in at least 10 games this year, and we came back and won 8 of them. And that was just kind of our mindset the entire year. We lost 10 games. 7 of those 10 games, we were down 1 possession with a minute to go, right? And so some of those games went one way or another. At the same time, we also won 5 of those games on the other end. So, our record in those close games wasn't great, but we were 22-10. We easily could have been 27-5. We also probably could have been, 17-13 or 17-14 type deal.
It is truly amazing what you all were able to do, a historic season. I remember the day of the selection show, you sent me a text with kind of the breakdown of teams in the region. Do you think we're going to get in? And I think we both kind of agreed that you all had the resume, but I know you were nervous about it. You got in, and boom, you didn't only get in, but you made a run to the Elite Eight. So congratulations on that. You referenced earlier that you had a lot of new players, you had some transfers, you had some freshmen. One of the things that we do on the show is talk about the ever-changing landscape of college athletics. And of course, the portal has changed how teams go about building their roster. So how would you describe the roster building philosophy of Assumption basketball? Yeah,
we are still pretty traditional in terms of we do value bringing in freshmen every year. We obviously do balance that out. We're trying to bring in transfers and older guys. This year's roster specifically, we brought in a 5th-year transfer, Jamal Barnes, who played 4 years at St. Thomas Aquinas, who obviously one of the best D2 programs in the Northeast in general, always an NCAA tournament team. Famously, Tobin Anderson coached there before he went to Fairleigh Dickinson. And that was a guy who played in the NCAA tournament 4 straight years and was a 40% three-point shooter, and was a guy who can come in, bring leadership, shooting, and just a bunch of intangibles to kind of mentor our younger guys. We brought in a freshman class of, I think it ended up being 6 players, 3 of which played a ton of minutes for us this year, and then 3 of which ended up redshirting, which means now our class next year of freshmen are going to be 3 guys that run the roster for us this year. Which is great because they all have that experience of being in a college practice every day. And so we like to balance it out. We think it's really important to mix and match our bringing in freshmen, bringing in transfers, and while also trying to maintain the current group of players we have, which is also a challenge in today's landscape. I think at the Division II level, you're still kind of seeing that mix of, there are some schools that lean heavily in the transfer portal like D1s do, but there are a ton of D2s that still value high school student athletes. And I think that's because that with the portal, and the ever-changing landscape and the ever-changing rules of how many years of eligibility guys seem to keep getting, there's just a better pool of player available, especially at this time of year, right? We're in the middle of April, and there's still a good chunk of really good high school athlete that hasn't committed anywhere that maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago was just never going to be available to a really good D2 or even an average Division II program, or even a low D1 program that's now out there kind of waiting and hoping they get an offer from a place. And if they don't, that's where, school like Assumption or other like-minded Division II schools can come in, show them love, kind of recruit them late. And next thing you know, you're getting players that you couldn't dream of getting 10 years ago.
Is that a product of the D1s going after the transfer guys, and then that's kind of the trickle down of leaving the high school guys behind almost?
To an extent, I think, obviously, from my prep school days, you kind of saw it a little bit, but the best high school athletes are still going to go get high major Power 4 level Division I offers, right? That's never going to change. But yeah, then there's the next tier of high school players that are still really good, that are still going to get Division I offers, whether it's Power 4 or mid-major. Then there's like that next tier that are probably historically low major to mid-major type players that kind of either slip through the cracks or just don't get the offers that they would be accustomed to getting, because so many schools in Division I are so portal heavy, because there's so many coaches that have the mindset of, I'm going to take a 21, 22-year-old that has 3-4 years of college experience over a 17, 18-year-old that has never played a day of college basketball, because the 21-year-old has proven he can play at the highest level, while the 18-year-old who might have the potential and the talent level hasn't proven that. And in this powder keg of college coaching, where now it's you have to win now or your job's on the line, coaches aren't going to necessarily put their jobs on a 17-year-old. They're going to put their jobs on a 23-year-old who was an all-conference player at a lower level, but still in college.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm one of the PAC-Hub's AI specialists. Today, I want to show you why PAC-Hub is the ultimate platform for college baseball players looking to transfer to a new college program. First, let's take a look at our extensive network of coaches. With over 150 coaches actively using our system, you have a huge pool of experts to connect with. Imagine having access to all these experienced coaches searching for talent like yours. You even have the ability to connect with any of these coaches via our internal messaging system. This means more opportunities to showcase your skills and find the perfect new team. Now let's switch gears and see things from a coach's perspective. Coaches can easily search for athletes by position or stat. Let's say I'm looking for a left-handed pitcher with good pitching stats. With just a few clicks, I can find top-performing pitchers who meet my criteria. This efficient search functionality ensures that coaches find the perfect fit for their teams and athletes get matched with opportunities that suit their strengths. PAC-Hub is all about connecting talent with opportunity. Whether you're an athlete looking to transfer to a new college team or a coach searching for the next star player, PAC-Hub has the tools you need to succeed. Don't miss out on the chance to be part of this amazing community. Join PAC-Hub today and take the next step in your baseball journey. Visit www.pac-hub.com to sign up now.
That's the roster building side of things. Roster retention, I know, is another stressful issue for coaches right now. You all make it to the Elite Eight, which is an amazing thing, but I'd imagine that also puts more guys on the radar of some bigger programs potentially. So what goes into keeping together a Division II roster now that we've seen so many guys go from the D2 ranks to the D1 level?
Yeah, I think first off, winning helps a ton. I said it to a lot of different people, and obviously you mentioned it on Selection Sunday when we were pretty convinced we were going to fall on the wrong side of the bubble, but did not. That if we did not see our name on Selection Sunday, our roster would probably be looking a lot different right now. Just because there's a mindset of if you play so many guys and maybe guys want more minutes, and next thing you know, you're 18-10 and you're not in the NCAA tournament, now your season's over. It's very easy to question why I'm not playing more and we did all this for what. But then you get into the NCAA tournament and then you make a run and now you're in the Elite Eight and now you're playing tough against the number one team in the country and eventual national champs. The mindset is now, we're pretty good. We didn't play well against Nova Southeastern, and yet we had cut it down to 7 with 6 minutes to go. If we just run it back, we have an opportunity to make another run, if not maybe compete for a national championship if all the pieces connect. So I think for us, the selling point didn't necessarily have to be as massive as you thought it needed to be, because the proof was in the pudding, right? Like, our young guys played really well, and our older guys played really well, and our young guys know that if they come back, we're gonna have expectations, obviously, but like, we just did it, and we only graduated 3 players, and so everybody's coming back as of right now, which is great.
Wow.
Which has
Yeah.
made spring workouts a ton of fun, having a roster of 15 for our spring workouts. So that's really important. And I think the biggest thing for us as coaches is that we are always open and honest as a staff to all of our players. And that goes all the way back to the recruiting process. Like, if we want a student athlete, we are going to tell them, how we feel about them when we evaluate them, but also where we see them as potential fit. Like, we're not going to recruit a kid and tell him he's going to go play 40 minutes knowing that he's never going to play, or that he's going to be a redshirt. Like, if we recruit a kid and we think he's probably going to redshirt for us, we'll tell him, like, we think you have potential to be really good, but as of now, like, you're probably going to come in. Obviously, we let you play all fall. And then if we think you should redshirt, we're going to redshirt you. But that's a conversation we have all the way back when we start recruiting a kid, so there's no surprises. And I think that honesty and that authenticity and the relationships we build with all our student athletes from the recruiting process allows the players to, really trust us to put them in the best positions to succeed. And then obviously the benefit of that is now when the season's over, they still have full trust in you to know that moving on to next year, we're going to continue to help them grow and develop and mature as student athletes. And so next year is an even better year. And then we have the whole conversation all over again.
Right, exactly. But next year, like you said, you have a full roster for the spring, guys who have been in the program. They know Assumption basketball. So that's fantastic, and something that you really don't see that often anymore. One other question I want to ask about kind of the changing landscape of college athletics and how it affects you all. We have people who maybe are parents of high school athletes and are looking at D1, looking at D2. They hear all about NIL. I know that the NIL at the top of D1 is different than the bottom of D1, but it's different at the D2 level. So you don't have to speak specifically to your NIL situation, but in general, what does the D2 NIL situation kind of look like?
Hasn't seeped deep into Division II yet, thankfully. There's certainly been inklings and rumblings of programs that now have NIL money at the Division II level. It is the top 1% of bigger Division II schools that do, though. It's not widespread. So, we joke about in the office that D3 is really the last pure college basketball left because they don't give athletic scholarships and there's no NIL. D2 is still pretty close to that. You obviously do deal with the low major D1s trying to come in and poach Division II players with a little bit of NIL now. So there is that aspect of it. But D2, there's not a ton of NIL to go around, which is nice because there's still a pretty level playing field in that regard, which is really nice. In terms of the high school athlete, I do think the biggest thing is what I tell anyone I recruit is do what is best for you and your family. And if there's a school that offers you and you take a visit there and you love it and you love the players there, you love the staff there, you love the school there, like, don't wait and think there's something better coming, because usually that ends up, and now you're sitting here in April and May and you have nothing because that scholarship that was offered to you ended up going to somebody else because you waited too long. Especially in today's era of the transfer portal. Like, if you fall in love with the spot, don't leverage that for trying to get a better opportunity. Like, you fell in love with that spot for a reason. Go there. And in a year, if you don't like it, you have the opportunity to go somewhere else and go play somewhere else. But you're better off going there. And then in a year, if you're not happy, going somewhere else with the year of college experience under your belt, instead of you stressing in May and June, hoping that you get a late scholarship opportunity.
Wise words of advice. Wise words of advice, everybody. Listen closely to what he just said. One last follow-up on the NIL thing.
Yeah.
While the D2 schools maybe don't have like the collectives and everything that the D1s do, athletes can still go out and get their own deals, right? That's still allowed.
Yeah. I mean, the NIL is pretty open-ended, to say it lightly. The schools might not be paying for name, image, and likeness to their student athletes, but student athletes are still, the free to go do that on their own, right? And like get other jobs, which, obviously like the original purpose of NIL was, the whole deal of like, well, student athletes can't work a second job while they're playing and get paid for it. Like all those things you're allowed to do now as a student athlete. But yeah, there's not the whole, as we've seen now with, the whole situation with Tennessee football, right? We're not dealing with levels like that of people holding out for money and contracts and whatnot.
No Nico Iamaleava situations. Yeah. So one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on is because you have such a wide ranging experience of coaching. You've been now at a couple of D2 schools, a couple of high level D1 programs at La Lumiere, which we're going to get to in a second. But, going back to your Syracuse and Washington experience, and I know that college athletics has changed drastically even in the years since those experiences. But when you kind of look at where things are in the world of college basketball, especially right now at those high level power conference programs, what are your overall thoughts on the situation? Because there's a lot of craziness going on right now in that world.
Yeah, it sounds like if you don't have NIL money, you're in trouble as a program at the highest of levels. It almost becomes more like professional basketball, where every offseason becomes a free agency period, and the teams with the most money get the best players. So it's almost more like a baseball model with no salary cap, where the Dodgers can spend $1 billion and get every player they want, and the A's don't spend any money. And that's kind of how it is in college basketball right now at the highest of levels. And if you have a ton of NIL money, you can go get anybody you want. And if you don't, you have to be very selective in the types of players you go out and get. That's not to say you can't be successful at the highest of levels. If you are still a good evaluator of talent, you can still put together a great roster. And I think that's part of the reason why you've seen a ton of schools now go get Division II type coaches. Like Ben McCollum's the perfect example. Like he's a great coach. He proved that he won 4 national titles at Northwest Missouri State. He went to Drake. He took 4 of his players with him, right? He won the Missouri Valley, and now he's going to Iowa, where he's probably going to take his entire roster with him again, and they'll probably be pretty good at Iowa in year 1. So there's still something to be said about being able to evaluate talent, and talent still, I think, transcends level. Like if you can help a program win at the Division II level, you can help a program win at the Division I level. You can help a program win to the Division III level. You can help a program win to the Division II level. Like I think that still rings true. But if you're a McDonald's All-American coming out of high school, like, yeah, there's probably only about 20 or 30 schools that have a chance of getting that kid because of the NIL. If you're a player of the year type player in a high mid-major conference and you're in the portal, there's only so many Power 4 schools that have a chance of that kid just based on what the kid expects to get in the NIL market. So that's why every school is hiring a GM now to kind of take the burden off the head coach. But there's now even more pressure on the head coach and coaching staffs at these schools because, back in the day, you'd get 5 years to build your own program because you couldn't go through the portal, or if someone transferred, they had to sit out a year unless they were a 5th year. And then you would recruit high school kids thinking, okay, you had your first year, you would still have the previous coaching staff's players. So that year was kind of a wash. And then year 2, you'd finally have your own freshman class. Year 3, they'd be sophomores. Year 4, they'd be, juniors. And then maybe by year 5, you should have all your own players. And if it doesn't work out by then, they're going to make a change. Now it's, year 1, you're expected to be so much better. Than year 2, you better be close to making the NCAA tournament. And if not, like year 3, you better be going to like the Sweet 16 or you're out of a job if you're at these Power 4 schools. So it's just so much different. There's just so much pressure on these coaches now to win right away. And that's why you kind of see wild NIL numbers getting thrown around at players that you might be like, how much is that player getting? And as you know, that money, that number is not always true, but just hearing those numbers out there for players of certain caliber, you're just like, really? And then next thing you know, a coach is, stressing and now you're putting a roster together and you're wasting your NIL on maybe 1 or 2 players that don't pan out. And now you're really behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, it's a lot of chaos right now, and it's great for the athletes, to obviously be making all of this money. Like none of this is about them. It's just about the lack of a structure. And I think with this whole Nico Iamaleava situation, a lot of people are really emphasizing like, hey, we need to figure this out now. We need structure in place. And we've had a bunch of episodes talking about some fixes for the world of college athletics. So we'll see what's in store moving forward. But you have an awesome experience from your time at La Lumiere. I mean, that's one of the best prep school programs in America. You were the head coach of the La Lumiere regional team. Again, one of the best programs in the country, based out of Indiana. What makes what is La Lumiere, first of all, and what makes a program like that so good?
Yeah, so La Lu, as a school, as a boarding school, high school boarding school / day school, right? We have a mix of boarding students and day students. Small, like about 200 students in the middle of rural Northwest Indiana. So when you picture powerhouse prep school basketball, you don't picture that. You picture some of the knapsack schools, right? The Northeast prep schools that you hear about a ton, like the New Hamptons of the world, and the Vermont Academies of the world, and the Cats and the Newmans of the world. Or you hear about the IMGs and the Montforts and the Oak Hills historically of the world. Yeah, La Lu invested in basketball heavily in the early 2010s as a way to help market the school and a way to, give it something different. Being in Indiana, obviously, high school basketball specifically is what that religion is out there, and so they started invested heavily in that, and so it grew and grew, and then after my time at Davidson Elkins during the COVID pandemic, I was blessed with an opportunity to go there. My first year, I was an assistant coach for our national team under Pat Holmes, who kind of runs the whole show there from a basketball standpoint. Has been great. And then year 2, while doing those duties as assistant for our top team, I basically was, given the opportunity to rebrand and reconstruct our second team, of finding, more so low-level college basketball talent of kids that were maybe, looking for either international kids, which is a big deal, prep schools, obviously, or kids from areas that didn't get a ton of publicity, but were good basketball players and just wanted a better experience in a college-like basketball experience so they can get recruited. So that's what I did as our second team. But the whole program in general, especially the top team is now in the EYBL Scholastic, which was taken over by Nike a couple years ago. And that league consists of Montverde, IMG, Wasatch Academy out in Utah, Sunrise Christian out in Kansas, Oak Hill, Brewster Academy, who's now in it, and a bunch of other the big time prep schools. And so that experience was awesome for the 4 years I was there. And I got to coach a ton of great kids. Yeah, obviously they were great at basketball too, right? 5 McDonald's All-Americans my time there. Awesome experience. The biggest difference between coaching at prep school and coaching in college is no matter how talented the prep school player might be compared to maybe a Division II player at their peak, it is a lot different coaching a 16 and 17-year-old than is coaching a 22 and 23-year-old, no matter how talented they are from a maturity standpoint, from an effort standpoint at times, and then just from a basketball standpoint, right? There was a couple student athletes at La Lumiere, really good Power 5 players right now, who you just have to work on basics and concepts so much more in depth than you do at a college level. And there's an effort piece at the high school level and the prep school level. These are 16, 17, 18-year-olds who are coming from class, being in class 7 hours a day, who are then dragging and now have to go to practice, and they might not feel like wanting to practice hard. And it's just the mindset of once you get to the next level, you don't get that. You can't just not show up and expect to then go out and play 30 minutes a game. You can't take a day off and just kind of half-ass practice, or you can't just kind of show up to a game and half-ass defense half the time because you're so much more talented on the offensive end. That's not how it works. And our mindset is we're going to run the program like a college program, and that's what a lot of the prep schools at that level do. And that's part of the reason why they have such great track records and why those student athletes get recruited at such a high level, is because those coaches at the college level know that those kids are going to be ready to play at the college level right away.
5 McDonald's All-Americans, 28 current NCAA student athletes. Those are the players who you mentored at La Lu. If there's an athlete out there who is maybe considering going the prep school route, what makes one a good candidate to go that direction?
Yeah, it's that answer is probably different now than even what it was a couple of years ago. And there's so many different prep schools, right? Obviously, I'd mentioned a couple different ones there. It also varies if you're trying to transfer in as maybe a junior or senior, or if you're trying to take the 50-year route of like, I played 4 years of high school basketball and I need an extra year because there's not the offers I want. Obviously, if you play 4 years of high school basketball and you feel like you need an extra year development, then going to one of those post-grad years at a good prep school is still an awesome thing to do. If you're a really, really good high school player and you want to play against the best high school athletes in the country, like going to the EYBL Scholastic is the best high school conference in the country, hands down, year in and year out. And there's a reason why almost every year 40% of McDonald's All-Americans in the country come from that league. There's a reason why we hated playing against Montverde every year, because whether it was Jalen Duran and Caleb Houston and Nemhard, or whether it was Cooper Flagg and Liam McNeely and the 30 other great players that played there my 4 years at La Lumiere, like those are the guys you're going up against every single night, whether you're going up against Keontae George at IMG or Donnie Freeman at IMG, or just go down the list of great players that you're going up against every night in conference play. And like, then all your games are going to be televised on like ESPN Plus or ESPNU or on NBA TV. And like, so you're going to get that national exposure. You're going to be coached by some of the best high school coaches in the country in a way that you would at the college level. And so from like the highest level of prep school, like, yeah, if you're a high level Division I caliber athlete, like, yeah, if you can go to one of those schools, go to one of those schools. If you are a good academic student, a really good academic student, go to one of the New England prep schools that are still really good at college basketball. And obviously being in a New England college, we recruit those schools a ton. And there's so many colleges that recruit all those schools because the NEPSAC is the best quote unquote prep school conference in the country in terms of the old school traditional prep school. But then now there's the junior college rule where apparently now if you're a Division I player, you can now go play JUCO for 2 years and still be a freshman. So if that rule stays, I would say go play junior college basketball for 2 years and then be a freshman and go play 4 years of Division I basketball if you're that good. Like if that rule stays, there's no reason why that's not a great path as well, because you are getting college experience, and junior college ball, especially at the highest levels, is just as good as Division I basketball in some areas.
And that JUCO rule, just to clarify, has thus far only been approved at the D1 level, correct, not D2. It was voted down by the D2 council.
We are hoping that changes, as we have one student athlete who just finished his junior year, his first year with us, who had 2 years of JUCO experience before coming here. So if that rule could change before the end of next season, that would be great for Division II, so we could have him for 2 more years.
There we go. We'll certainly follow that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me that it could change at one level and not at the other, but we'll see.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm one of the PAC-Hub's AI specialists. Today, I want to show you why PAC-Hub is the ultimate platform for college baseball players looking to transfer to a new college program. First, let's take a look at our extensive network of coaches. With over 150 coaches actively using our system, you have a huge pool of experts to connect with. Imagine having access to all these experienced coaches searching for talent like yours. You even have the ability to connect with any of these coaches via our internal messaging system. This means more opportunities to showcase your skills and find the perfect new team. Now let's switch gears and see things from a coach's perspective. Coaches can easily search for athletes by position or stat. Let's say I'm looking for a left-handed pitcher with good pitching stats. With just a few clicks, I can find top-performing pitchers who meet my criteria. This efficient search functionality ensures that coaches find the perfect fit for their teams and athletes get matched with opportunities that suit their strengths. PAC-Hub is all about connecting talent with opportunity. Whether you're an athlete looking to transfer to a new college team or a coach searching for the next star player, PAC-Hub has the tools you need to succeed. Don't miss out on the chance to be part of this amazing community. Join PAC-Hub today and take the next step in your baseball journey. Visit www.pac-hub.com to sign up now.
All right, final question for you. You have dropped a lot of gems when it comes to recruiting for aspiring college athletes. Let's go from the coaching perspective, because you've had an awesome journey. You started as a head student manager at Syracuse, one of the premier programs, and have had some really cool opportunities since then. So what is your advice for anybody who wants to get into coaching, whether they played in college or not?
Yeah. That is a great question. One, if you want to get into coaching, it is just as much fun as you think it is. Like I tell everybody this is not a real job. Like I get to coach basketball for a living. And while yes, there's times where it's just as stressful as probably any other job. You do get to look back at the end of the day and be like, I get to coach a sport that most of us grew up loving, playing and watching, and people dreaming of playing. So like, it is still a blessing every day that I get to do this for a living. Understand how much it takes though to be a coach, especially at the college level. The ways for you to get in. Obviously, if you played, you already have a step up because you kind of understand it, and it's easier for you to get in. If you didn't play, like myself, if you're in college or you're in high school, student manager is a great route. If not, go find a way to be a GA, graduate assistant somewhere. It doesn't have to be at a high level school. Like obviously I was a GA at University of Washington. And that only came about because I had a really good relationship with Mike Hopkins from when he was the associate coach at Syracuse. And that's my biggest mentor in coaching. So like that was my opportunity to continue being a coach because I went into college not knowing what I want to do with my life. And that was an avenue for me. So most schools in the country that have basketball that are a 4-year university have a GA program. It could be a Division I GA program, could be a Division II GA program, even NAIAs and Division IIIs. Not as much Division IIIs, but NAIAs have GA programs as well. So go be a GA. That's your foot in the door. GAs get to do everything. You can be asked to do everything, especially at the lower level, spots like on the court stuff, recruiting stuff, administration stuff, video stuff. You just kind of put your hand in everything, and you really get to find out if you love this and really want to do this for a living or not. Because if you can get through being a GA and you still love it, then this is the right career for you. And then from there, it's networking. Like everything else in life, it's who you know, not what you know. Get out to as many events as possible. Just cold call coaches, email coaches. If you're a GA, go to the Final Four, just meet people, and then just keep working and go from there. If you are younger and maybe you're a prep school coach or you're trying to get to college, AAU is a big thing too. Go be an AAU coach. So those connections are massive. Like there's plenty of people that go from AAU to college coaching because of those connections as well. So just try and get your hands as many different avenues as possible and meet as many different people in the industry as possible, because eventually somebody is going to get a job. And if they like you enough, they hopefully will take you with them. And that's how you get your foot in the door. For me, it was I got one meeting with Mike Hopkins through somebody, and from there I became a student manager. Then from there I became a GA, and then from there I got lucky enough to get a D2 assistant job, and obviously prep school, and then back to Division II. But that all started from one meeting because somebody I knew Mike Hopkins at Syracuse, and then from there I was able to become student manager.
Okay, well, awesome stuff. There you have it. Brandon Wright, a rising star in the coaching world, currently the assistant coach for Assumption University, the Greyhounds, fresh off of an Elite 8 appearance out of Worcester, Massachusetts. Brandon, awesome stuff today. Thanks for your time and insight. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
Once again, big thanks to our guest today, Brandon Wright, for hopping on the show. So many gems. If you're a high school athlete, if you're a coach, save this video because there is a lot of awesome insight for you to utilize moving forward in your playing or coaching careers. Before we wrap up, a reminder that we are powered by PAC-Hub. Take a look bottom of your screen, PAC-Hub.com. Runs tangentially to the NCAA transfer portal. If you're in the NCAA transfer portal, check out PAC-Hub. It's a great way to stand out to coaches. Multiple sports are covered in PAC-Hub. Also goes beyond just the portal, some NIL stuff, a lot of insight about navigating this ever-changing landscape of college athletics as well. PAC-Hub.com. And one last reminder, please subscribe to our page, like our videos, comment, let us know what topics you want us to cover on the Around the Huddle podcast. We will certainly cover whatever you want us to talk about because there are so many awesome things and crazy things happening in the world of college athletics. We'd certainly love to talk about all of those. Again, a huge thanks to all of you for joining us. Thanks to our guest, Brandon Wright, today, and we will talk to you soon.